provider that is held accountable versus the person who chooses to stay in a space of ego and maybe even humiliation. And so today we are actually talking about and choosing the topic of accountability. I am a licensed clinical psychologist. My name is Dr. TK. If you are new here, we've been doing a whole breakdown from a very educational standpoint as it relates to the Cheyenne Bryant situation online. And I believe that as a mental health provider, if we are able to survive going through a whole process of K through 12 school, plus college, plus grad school, plus licensure, plus CEs the right way, then we want to make sure that we are given credit where credit is due. And we also want to make sure that those who may show up in the online space and technically portray their way into our licensed profession, that we actually call them out on it. Okay. So, what I've done is I've expanded the myth busters that I got a whole lot of positive feedback on last week because probably of the way that I presented it. When I was able to, with my team, go through all the comments, there were some main themes that people felt like they wanted me to either just hone in on and or go deeper on. And also people are very receptive to explaining things now, like understanding what it means to find a qualified provider. And I love that we have both the general public and providers and future providers actually in the comments. And so by all means, if you are able to watch this live and or later, I would highly recommend that you engage yourself in the discussion, write out your aha moments, your comments, or your questions in the chat box. And let's go ahead and get started. Now, because I did get a lot of good feedback related to people being able to follow something that's on the screen, and I am a professor by nature. I was a college professor and grad school professor for over 18 years. I find that it's easier to also stay on track and answer your actual questions if I come more prepared, just without no cards. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing my screen again. Let me open up the chat box. And if you have not already done so, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a mixture of educational content from mental health to also business for mental health providers. So if you're a mental health provider, you definitely need to get on board. All right. So, and let me know how y'all doing today. Just a quick check in, like give me a word. We are wrapping up Mental Health Awareness Month as well, but it should be all year. But let me bring up two things. Hold on. Okay. I always like to pull up so I can see both chat boxes. Okay. All right. So let me share the screen. And if you have a pen and paper and you want to take notes, that's perfectly fine, especially if you are in a space where you're actually looking for a provider or you want to become a provider. Okay, so I'm gonna put myself next right here. All right, y'all cool? Y'all cool beans? A real doctor and a real professor. Hallelujah. Hey. Great day. What's up, Batlin? All right. Have any licensed professionals in California filed? Oh, okay. Well, y'all can talk about that in the chat box. All right. Let's go ahead and go. All right. So Mythbusters part 2. So what I did is I pulled together top questions and we're going to talk about what's coming next. Okay. So these are the questions that people are still asking. So what actually happens in grad school before the dissertation? Now, me and Dr. Roche did break this down, so I'm not going to break down piece by piece, but there are certain parts that we just did not have time to do that day because there were other questions that came up, but I will cover what was missing. Okay. I want you all to come from my live streams being able to have a full picture. And then if you want to dive deeper in a particular topic, you could just go to a previous live stream. Okay. Another question that came up is what happens when a graduate school closes mid-program? People were just more curious because we only talked about those who really graduated, but people were in the comments talking about, well, I had to change in the middle of the year kind of thing. And then I gave an example of a student that I helped her process that process. Okay. Is Argosy really a degree mill? I covered that in my last live stream with Dr. Roche on last Friday, but I'll speak a little bit about it today. How do I look up a therapist license? I did do a deep dive in the state of California. You do need to know your boards in your state. Another question is, what is the difference? So I do have a little cheat sheet. We won't go into super great detail, but psychiatrist versus psychologist versus these other titles across state lines where you have LMFT, which is licensed marriage and family therapist, licensed clinical social worker, that's the LCSW, and then LPCC. I forgot one of the C's, but I know one of his counselor, licensed professional counselor. Y'all can fill in the blank. Okay. But if you are looking for a particular provider, I'm going to give you a cheat sheet, but you still want to do your homework to determine what provider is the best resource for you based off the problem that you're wanting to solve. Okay. Number 6 is, why are licensed therapists always in training? And why is that important considering what just happened in the news? Okay, we'll get to that. And then, what does the board actually do about unlicensed practice? So it kind of will answer what somebody kind of said in the chat box. And then, how can the public protect themselves moving forward? That is actually the biggest piece why I am doing this, because I typically do master classes and live streams for therapists so that they can show up as quality providers in their licensed practices in business and or jobs, because they want to have streams of income. Because just like any other type of, desired entrepreneur, we don't want to rely on something that's going to take up a lot of just our one-on-one time. And therapists deserve to have streams of income as well. We helping people change their whole life. Okay. Actual licensed therapists. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be walking you through some receipts. Now, I don't know about y'all. Put a 1 in the comment box if you would agree. When you hear certain clips or whole podcast episodes over and over again, it's like watching a movie for the 5th time, or a Netflix series for the 6th time. You pick up on things that you did not hear and or see because you were so baffled on the first sentence, right? And so I start recognizing that it was little bitty lines that were said that I don't hear nobody really talking about. So we're going to break down some of those, what I consider more receipts, because they are things that were looked over that challenge the credibility of Miss Bryant. Okay. So we're going to walk through, I'm going to walk you through every, because I took notes, every statement, claim that came up. And this is not to embarrass nobody or drag somebody through the mud, but I want to teach therapists how to show up online. And if you feel uncomfortable, or you don't know how to answer a question, or you don't want to answer a question, you need to get help with that so that you don't say something. Because these days, once something is said online, it's really hard, if at all, to take it back, because it's on replay over and over again. So the goal is to educate everyone. So I'm specifically breaking down 6 claims. Okay. And thank you for correcting me, Valid. It's licensed professional, clinical counselor, LPCC. Thank you. Because in one state, it's just LPC. All right. So we're going to talk about 6 specific claims. Each one is going to be matched against the actual process, which means that I'm going to show you what was said. And then I'm actually going to break down to you what the board says, not what Dr. TK says. None of this is based off of my opinion. It is based off of facts. Okay. So receipt number 1, transcripts and record access. So there was a statement that said something like, I'm paraphrasing, Argosy keeps transcripts, or I was told Argosy keeps transcripts only for 2 years, right? So we know we don't refuted this, but I want to give y'all the facts. Okay. Schools cannot legally destroy transcripts after 2 years, even if the school closes down. When Argosy, not Argosy, okay, when Argosy closed, all records were then transferred to designated state custodians. Now, what's interesting is me and Dr. Roche were having a conversation when all this stuff first started happening. And even Dr. Roche was like, now, I could recall, I got like an email or something from our campus saying, go and get copies of your transcript. Now, I cannot remember if I got an email, probably because I was actively working on campus. So I already knew what to do because of just protecting myself, right? With having copies of everything. So I'd already had copies when I graduated, but something told me to just get a few more, because I do teach, and you do need that to teach on different campuses. So California, because what this individual was referencing was what the process is in the state. Okay. So California campus records went to a post-secondary institution. Now the website is actually called Parchment. Okay, Parchment or something like that. It's Parchment. I created an account. I did a whole video and tutorial around it. And I basically, and other people have talked about how you can literally create a free account and go in there and check off what you want. Okay. And then you just have to pay like $27, $27.50, and then get copies of your transcripts. Okay. But at the end of the day, an actual alumni, a degree that was conferred on a sheet of paper, okay, is alumni were officially notified to request transcripts during the transition. Boom. I found that online. Okay. And so now if somebody changed their email address, if somebody is not reachable, okay, we get it. That's just like me saying everybody from my high school comp to high is reachable. We 30 years in, like, or out. Okay. So no, not everybody's going to be reachable. But but again, these are facts. Okay. So where to verify? There is a website called in California, bppe.ca.gov for closed school records. Okay. But you can also go to that website. If you contact clearly Argosy directly, they're closed. But you are clearly contacting a school that is non-existent. So the correct path would be what's called, and I should have voted this, the state custodian, the school custodian, because Argosy was actually all across the United States. So our records, for shortcut purposes, went to that parchment website. You create an account. You do have to put in all of your other names that you used at the school. For my ladies that got married or unmarried, you get me? I too have changed my name over the course of the last 20 years. And so I actually had to look, oops. So I actually had to look at this, right? Me and Dr. Roche had these. So this is my degree from Argosy University. However, it is a different last name. It is not my current married last name. So that's important because when I'm looking up any documents, I need to make sure that I'm entering every variation of what my last name could be, in which, similar to financial aid, they're going to link it to my birth date, make sure I'm the same person. And I'm sure if they have questions, then they will contact me. But I had to put in a lot of information once I said I have multiple names. Okay. And so you do need to contact the custodial. Okay. Now, receipt number 2, financial aid and loan refunds. And so I think everybody cackled at this one. Okay. Cackled. Okay. So I contacted the financial aid and they provided refund information. I mean, whatever your views are on 1600 Pennsylvania, these people ain't giving no refunds. They ain't even giving us reparations. So to say that refunds are available for classes that you already took, even if I didn't go to school, that just don't make sense. So I looked up the facts. So here's the truth. A closed school does not even have a financial aid office to call. That office closed when the school closed in March of 2019. Okay. Loans are managed by the loan servicer. And for those of you who have open loans and did not get forgiven, you didn't pay them off, you need to be following where your loans are because some things are happening in the loan space starting in July. Okay. You don't need to contact the school. You graduated. So you need to contact who gave you your loan. Closed schools disparage applications go through the U.S. Department of Education. So most of our stuff, if you didn't take out a private loan, is typically through the U.S. Department of Education. Then, they be selling stuff, right? So loan refunds are not issued to students who did not complete all their coursework. So that's something that you want to keep in mind with all these issues. Loan refunds are not issued to students who completed our coursework. So she mentioned that when she called, they said that they would wipe out, from what I recall, her whole degree. Now, I'm not the financial aid office. Does it sound easy to challenge that and say that's a lie? Yes. Were we on the other end of the phone? No. Was it documented? No. But here's where the problem lies with the community being able to trust individuals who speak like this, is that you still did not provide any proof that a degree was actually confirmed. Would y'all agree? Right? So even if you was teeter-tottering part of her doc crew, they might be watching this, right? And you but she got her degree. Well, the fact of the matter is, even if she did not, air quotes, get a refund, she should still have something that conferred a degree. This is a big 20 by 24 frame that my grandmother got for me at Michael's. She paid for it. She said, go get a frame, girl. And I did. But before that, it was a regular 8 by 10 sheet or 8 by 11 sheet of paper. Okay. That's got to be somewhere. Okay. So ways to verify. U.S. Department of Education. We all know this website if you went to undergrad, even if you got loans or grants, studentaid.gov. Okay. foreclosed school discharge. The bottom line is if a graduate completed their coursework, there is no refund to pursue. That is according to U.S. Department of Education. Okay, and there is no school office to call because all your information is transferred to the U.S. Department of Education. Okay, now typically private loans do not come into play until you max out your public loans. Ooh, what does this mean? What does this mean? So let me talk to y'all for a second. Okay. So when I went to Argosy, remember I told you I was part of student government. And in my second year, I became part of student government. My last year, I became a president. So no, my first year I actually became student government. And I think I was like secretary, then I was a treasurer, and then I ended up being a president. And so one of the girls on student government pulled me to the side and she was like, y'all the cap class. And she wasn't talking about capping. And I'm thinking like graduation cap. And she said, no, financially cap. Now, and this is probably what people mean by the degree mill, like in terms of maybe even how much these schools charge. Out of line, but to each his own. So what she meant by that is like tuition was like one rack every unit or something, right? And so what that meant was after my first year, if we did not, like Dr. Roche talked about living at home, I didn't live at home. I moved from home to the Bay Area with my partner at the time, and my rent tripled because the Bay Area by the water is more expensive than the inner city in LA South Central. Okay. So my rent almost tripled. I could not really get a job outside of getting a part-time job at Best Buy on the weekends in Geek Squad and customer service. Okay. 16 hours a week at max because of all the degree stuff that we had to do to finish the process. And what I'm getting at is I had no choice but to take out a private loan because my federal loans were maxed out to cover tuition and not living expenses. Okay. Now, this was back in 2005. Could y'all imagine for these kids right now in 2026 when we do have children? I don't know about y'all's, but mine, they do want to go into entrepreneurship, but they also want to explore the professional world. Specifically, like you have to get a degree and a license. You can't go find a coach online and take a course and you become a medical doctor. Like that's not how it works. You have to go to law school to become a lawyer, right? So outside of 529 plans and you stacking up your money and investing your money for your children, I'm not a financial fiduciary. I'm just saying stack up your coins. Because if I was the cap class for these for-profit schools, yes, okay, which do admit more people, let's just state the facts, right? Versus when I was searching some PhD programs that was taking only 7 people out of 500, I know what my entry rates were. Okay, if we could just keep it 100. And I was very much in my head when I was applying to PhD and PsyD programs. The reason why I chose the PsyD program was for me, the campus was intimate. And it was like everything was what I wanted to do in the field of psychology, nothing else. I wasn't blindsided by getting interested in nothing else because I am interested in a whole lot of things. And I just wanted to get my degree, get licensed, and be done. Okay. But in terms of financial aid, this is why a lot of therapists, we come out of school with maybe minimum 50K. We're in the 6 figures. And if you let interest accrue, we're talking about multiple 6 figures. Okay. Multiple 6 figures in terms of what we invested in school. And so, all right, let's go back. So U.S. Department of Education, there are no refunds. Y'all got that? So receipt number 3, unofficial transcripts and conferred. That was the other statement I heard, like the conferred degree date. So when someone says, if I have the student, they say, oh, I have an unofficial transcript up to dissertation. My first thought is if you were savvy to get the transcript up to dissertation, and dissertation is the thing that's going to confer your degree, why wouldn't you actually go and upload? I would have been skipping to the damn computer lab to print that thing out, right? To download it as a PDF, upload it to my Google Drive, email it to myself, and print it out 10 times for free because I'm paying for it, okay, in the student lab. There is no way that I believe, this is my personal opinion, that someone would cross over the dissertation process. And if they had the sense to print out an unofficial transcript up to the dissertation, I didn't hear in the sentence, unless she left it out, that there was a degree confirmed on the unofficial transcript, because if that was the case, she could even said that to put it to bed. Like, well, I got this unofficial transcript though, even if she ain't got the book. Like, we would have took something. You know what I'm saying? And so here's the truth. Every transcript does show coursework, itemized semester by semester. It shows your grades clearly. It shows your credits earned. All schools calculate this stuff differently. It does show your GPA. If the degree was conferred, checked off, the transcript would show a conferred degree date. So it would match this date. So this one says the name of the school, and I'm going to read this, okay? It says, the Board of Trustees, on the recommendation of the faculty, has conferred upon, I'm reading the dang on degree, okay? Has conferred upon my name, my first, middle, and last name, the degree of Doctor of Psychology, and then it has in subheader, Clinical Psychology, and has granted this diploma as evidence thereof. Evidence thereof, okay? Given at the campus on the 29th day of June, 2009, and it has the Chairman Board of Trustees signature, the university president, the campus president, and the college dean with a seal. You need to have your degree conferred if you saying that you got a damn degree. Like, I don't see how hard this is. I know that in the beginning it may be ego. Like, I don't need to show them nothing. But if you want to save your brand, you feel me? Just shut it down. And so the only exception is if the transcript was downloaded mid-enrollment. Boom. But again, if you're finished, you would have been enticed to go get the other one. So a transcript without a conferred degree means the degree was not awarded. So if that's all we can go off of, that's how we come to the conclusion. All right. So where to verify this information? Clearly, the transcript itself, it should be in a sealed envelope, but some people have unofficial transcripts, but you still should have received an official one, in school, right? And you want to look for the conferred degree date line, like it actually says it, okay? So an unofficial transcript stops at whatever point in time it was generated. So whenever they press print, that is true. The conferred degree date either exists or it does not. I didn't make this up. I got this from these websites, APA and stuff. There is no gray area. The school shut down. There is no middle. You got it or you don't. Period, point blank. So this, I'm not saying that this is acceptable, but it could have helped. If you don't have a degree book, well, let's go backward. If you don't have the certificate, like boom, right? Then you show the dissertation. You show the transcript. Everything is incomplete, apparently. Okay, all right. Let me keep going. Right. Let me go to the chat box. So, because I'm like, this is bananas, right? So, someone says, let's see, she's not even showing the transcripts prior to dissertation. More importantly, she could have shown proof of class registration, which never leaves, regardless of completion. Correct. Okay. Someone says, absolutely, I agree. My transcript after finishing my MS in marriage and family therapy, like we know it shows, right? Yeah, your degree say all of that, butterfly. Okay. Look, some of y'all gonna appreciate your degrees now because you like, this is some good stuff, right? Like, I'm legit. Like, it's crazy how much, now put a one in the comment box. Not to say that you minimize your degree, but how many of you all are more proud of any degree that you've earned, of the simple fact that some people, unfortunately, either chose to not finish or could not finish, right? Okay. So, all right. So look, I'm holding people accountable according to the board. Okay. All right. So now this one, I will say, and mark my words, apparently nobody's talking about this whoop-de-doo that was missed when I pressed replay so many times on this one line. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm about to blow y'all mind. Those of you who license, you shouldn't be blown. All right, so there was a statement that was made during, was it the Breakfast Club? And it said something like, I had supervised hours toward MFT licensure in California. Now listen, ain't much change with how you collect hours around these parts of town. So this is what happens, y'all. After grad school, in order for you to collect legit hours under clinical supervision of a designated supervisor at a job, at a private practice, or whatever your board says, in California, you have to apply for a Board of Behavioral Sciences, BBS. I'm only talking about her situation. After my degree has conferred, remember I told you I went to Cal State Dominguez, I did the MFT option and I applied for the MFT number. Okay. And I'm actually going to log onto the website so I can show y'all something too. So after graduation, you apply for that registration number. You cannot, as an associate now, it used to be called an intern before 2018, you cannot start collecting hours until that number publishes because that protects you ethically and to give quality care because now they know that you're under the supervision of someone else. So to the general public, because I know y'all listening too, if somebody says they're in training, there are two different types of training. Someone is going to collect hours when they're in school. There is no supervisor. There is a supervisor, but they're not graduate yet. So they're collecting hours to show the school that they're meeting certain requirements to be a qualified graduate. That's part of their coursework, kind of like a dissertation, but real life stuff. Okay. So the school for an MFT program may say, before you graduate, you need to do 500 clinical hours, and they'll determine what clinical looks like. One-on-one therapy, this amount of hours. Therapy groups, this amount of hours. They are hella strict in California. That's why I'm just like, nah, sis, girl, you didn't mess with the wrong one with me listening. They will cap it out and say, you can only see this amount of hours for children, they want you to get a breadth of experience with adults, and so this amount with paperwork. Don't try to do all paperwork. No. You need to claim them clinical hours. We need to see that you can do therapy and then get an evaluation from the supervisor for the public. If you did not know, this all happens before we graduate. It is hella work when we say that we've been working for free. Okay. So then after you graduate, you apply for that number. Now, psychologist is the same thing. The only big difference for those of you who are not familiar with both boards, because I've been a part of both, when you get a BBS number, Board of Behavioral Sciences, you should only have one for an associate and one for a license. You can keep the same associate number. It doesn't matter how many sites you go work at. Board of Psychology, baby, is a completely different thing. And because I wasn't taught that, I lost about 500 hours because I need a postdoc number through the Board of Psychology for every single site that I work at. So when I was working at Kennedy High, I needed a Board of Psychology postdoc registered number that had to go through an approval process, which meant that I had to upload all of these accreditation documents, official transcripts, not up to my dissertation. I had to upload a copy of my degree. We can't just start training y'all for the public. We protect y'all. That's why we riled up. We can't just go out there and be like, oh, we doing therapy today, on TikTok. We can't do that. I hope y'all get me. So you accumulate hours for master's level therapists and doctoral level therapists while we're in school. We are under the supervision of wherever we work and a professor at the school. We technically got two or more. Once we graduate, then we have to go to the board to apply. We wait for approval like a trademark, right? And then they approve us and we can't pick our number. They give us a number. Then we take that number, put it on all of our documentation, and that's the number that we have to use on our supervisor's website. If a therapy client comes in and we say we're an associate or postdoc, we have to even tell you what our licensed supervisor license number is. You see all this paper trail? There's no way we can make this up, okay? And so you must have this number to legally accumulate supervised hours. So when I heard that statement, it started making me question, well, if the person was working toward MFT licensure, I should be able to find the person, whether in a license whether she got a license or not. Correct me if I'm wrong. I should be able to go to Board of Behavioral Sciences in the state of California, because she said marriage and family therapy in the state of California. I should be able to go and find the license, correct? Okay. So I'm going to pull up the website. Okay. BBS therapist license. Okay. So I'm going to switch screens. Okay. And I know y'all chopping it up in the chat box. Give me a second. But you chat it up with each other. All right, let me window. Okay, y'all see this? All right, so you see this? I just typed in because I know the name of the thing. BBS license. I'm going to put verification California. You can put the title like psychologist verification in Delaware, like put whatever you want. Okay. See, it comes up with LMFT. So I'm just going to click enter. I just want to show y'all how I find it because this is public knowledge. Okay. So license verification, BBS. Now they have a general website that I went over in my other video called the DCA license search. Now I chose to go through that website because it covers the Board of Psychology for psychologists and master's level clinicians that are social workers, etc. So I'm going to choose that one just for fun. Okay. Now I don't have a license number because she never gave it. Wait, Cheyenne. Did I spell her name right? Let me make sure. Okay, so we got Cosmopolitan. I mean, so this is what it looks like. You can scroll, but it has nurses. I already did my homework. I couldn't find her. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to type in my name. And I'm going to verify I'm a human. This is free for anyone. So if you ever want to know the status of your provider, like you would do for your child if they were going to a pediatrician, I would encourage you to do so. So, oh wait, what happened? Oh, business name. Duh. And I got two last names. Lord, how did I type it? I actually got a hyphenated last name. Okay, boom. All right, y'all see this? Now see how easy that was? Now, remember how I said we have to get 3,000 hours to get licensed. 3,000. How many of y'all willing to work 3,000 for free or low pay? So remember, for me, from the Board of Psychology, you can see the different emblem. And if you scroll down, you see BBS. I ain't got no problem showing somebody this website because I already went over what these names mean. If it's canceled, that if you click on the little button, it will say it conferred into a licensed provider. So either I'm done working at that site, it expired, meaning I did not renew to work at that site, but it's because I was a registered psychologist postdoc, and then I went on to get licensed. Okay. And then if you click on more detail, it will even tell you where I worked at. I worked at the jail. Okay. This one, oh no, this one was the Children's Collective. So I've worked at a daycare center. So that's what's cool too. You can look here like, I don't know if y'all do this. You can look up like, who does she work for? You feel me? So let's see. So you can see here, the titles change, registered psychologist. Then here's my active license psychologist. Now, if you want to know if somebody is legit, all you got to do is click on it. Oh, my license been renewed and I'm current, right? Argosy University, can't hide from that. Graduate 2009. This is my older website. Other previous names. There we go. Look at that. Issuance date. Hella important if somebody try to lie. Issuance date, November 22nd, 2011. The reason I was so geeked up about these numbers, it was, y'all like, what is it, angel numbers? It was 11/22/11. Okay, you know what I'm saying? All right, expiration date, it was meant to be. It's always your birthday month. So September 30th, hello Virgos, 2027, so next year, because I just renewed. And then what is the current date and time that I'm searching this up? Okay, y'all see how, we could just easily look this up. But what I'm getting at, what I wanted to show y'all, I'm not going to read every single one, right? It's going into other people's name, like Tempest, right? But look at from here, look at this, all the way up here. Look at all these entries. I can't lie about my 3,000 hours. Your girl been collecting, okay? All across the state of California. Y'all get me? So I hope that, put a one in the comment box if that was helpful. If you were able to see, especially for the general public, why we don't be playing about these damn hours. Like, there has to be some proof. So when an interview says I had supervised hours, I now question that because I'm like, either you're telling us that you had hours before you graduated, or you had hours. This is the problem I got a problem with. If she says that she had hours after she graduated, well, now we got a bigger problem. Because if you're not registered and you're telling people you were having hours or you were working as a trained MFT in training, well, who were you working under? Boom! Like, woo! Did I blow y'all mind? It was that one question, and I was searching online, like, is anybody gonna address this shit? And I'm like, I got questions, and I'm probably not gonna get an answer. All right, so all registration numbers, active or expired, are publicly searchable. Moving on, clearly ways to verify it. I just showed you. All right, receipt number 6, public accountability versus what's being portrayed on us as the public is we giving people pretty punishment. All right, so last time I checked the shit, I'm pretty. I might have taken my hair down. You know, y'all like my hair growth. You can't see it, right? Girl got crop. Okay, so I believe I'm gorgeous. Okay, and I'm a pretty ass woman. So with that in mind, I don't believe, some people might, but I don't believe we as mental health providers, at least, are doing pretty punishment. We are holding people accountable to our ethical standard, right? So education is not the same as humiliation. So if you do not, like I said, this is like your teaching point as a provider. If you do not know the answer, this is what I've been taught. I actually took a teaching psychology class at Cal State Dominguez. That was an elective, and we got to choose whatever we wanted to take in our master's program. And I said, I know I wanted to be a professor, so let me learn from my professors who simultaneously were teaching at Cal State Dominguez, USC, and UCLA. Well, hell, they got to know something. They've been teaching at all these levels of schools. And so you can say something like, great question. You know what? I need to look that up. But see, somebody's ego might not allow them to say that, though. If you've ever been in, and somebody hit me up on YouTube and took some classes with me at Argosy, and I thought that was so cool. And they talked about how I taught and how easy it was to understand. What y'all getting right now is a classroom. It's just that we will be doing activities in a physical class or breakout sessions on Zoom. But I've been taught that you will not know the answer to everything as a professor. So if you keep that in mind and put your ego to the side, first of all, students can feel when you bullshitting. So you should say either that's a great question, I need to go find the answer, or you know what, I never thought about it like that. Let me get back to you on the next class. Like, students will actually respect you more. Therapy clients will respect you more if you actually if you don't act like you know everything. Okay. So you don't want to ever fabricate dates of anything, programs of anything, hours that you've accumulated, procedures in an interview, or saying that you did a session when it was public knowledge, a goddamn podcast. Okay. We're not going to talk about that right now. Mispronouncing. I get if the public mispronounce it, but dang it, it is not called doctoral. It's called doctoral. Doctoral. Let me say that again. Okay. This is a credibility issue. Okay. We got to correct you. And I corrected it in the back, like in the last session. So public misrepresentation impacts every clinician that has been in this field, in which we want to continue to give to people, but now they feeling like they can't trust us again. The key word is again, right? So ways to verify is we want to look at how, when someone represents a particular group of people online, how they may not do it intentionally, but it is indirectly impacting the whole system, not just them. That's the horrible part. Like, damn, can the mental health field get an apology? Because we are getting backlash from clients, aka clients don't want to come to therapy. They don't believe, like, and it's cool if somebody were to ask me, like, how do I verify you? I'd be happy to send you a Loom video, boo. Matter of fact, I put it on my website. And so there is a clear difference between being held accountable and being humiliated. Today, the field is choosing accountability. And that's why we're showing up in strong numbers. Even if we're just talking on social media, I choose long form content like this and I make it like a class. And the professional standard is to say simply, I do not know, rather than making stuff up. Oh, all right. Let me go to people. Boom. Okay. Listen. Okay. Look. All right. So receipt 6, degrees, dissertation, and documentation at 3 days. 3 days. Feel like I'm throwing up WSI. All right. So the claim: no one earns these degrees just to become famous. So in my first year of my doctoral program, I had a cold professor, meaning she was cold, but she was witted with them words and she did not care. So she told us at the time, she was, and this was when Ron Artest, y'all. If you know, you know, he was playing for the Lakers, and that man was hot. So he started reaching out for anger management, right? Not to us, but just to people, right? And he did, what was it, his campaign around mental health, which was awesome because it opened up a lot of people to say, wow, if he can go to mental health, so can I. But what started to happen is people in our classes were having conversations around, oh my God, that's so dope that, you know, people are more open to mental health. We have a chance, you know, of our people, people of color being able to be seen in therapy. So she said, let me make this clear. And she was super well known in the Bay Area, has a bomb reputation, older Caucasian lady, but has a fire reputation in the hood in Marin County with some projects with our Black kids during our summer program. Okay. And she had a big heart. And so that's why I messes with her. Okay. That's actually one of the reasons why I chose the school, because of her research in the field of mental health with specifically children of color. Even though she's not a person of color, she made it her dedication to be culturally competent to serve these children that were being misdiagnosed with ADHD when they should have been diagnosed with PTSD, depression, family problems. Like, that ain't a diagnosis, but I'm just saying, like, those are real problems that lead up to other stuff that causes inattentiveness. But what we know that happens in Black and brown schools is that, especially for boys, there is a higher statistical, you know, research in terms of like, boom, you got a behavioral problem. Like, you just fit into all of it. Like, what? And so what she had told us is, if you got into this field, and I'm gonna leave out her F-bombs, but if you got into this bleep field to be rich, you done got into the wrong field. Now, me being the abundant person that I am, as I got to know her in the semester, because I took her a few semesters, I was like, Dr. So-and-so, now you done took us to your house in Marin County and damn near the whole house made of glass. So I didn't even know what being rich meant like back then, but I was just like, I know you got streams of income. No, like I knew what that meant. And so I said, how can we be like you? Like, I spoke up for my counterparts because they weren't saying nothing. And she was like, well, I'm glad you asked. Mentorship. Boom, again. Okay. So every doctoral graduate has diplomas, transcripts, dissertation, and defense paperwork. Dissertations, we even have rough drafts of our dissertation. That's what baffles me. Anyway, dissertations from accredited programs are published, like we talked about in the past, on ProQuest. If it is not there, I talked to y'all about, there have been some mishaps with, let's just say, Argosy, but there is a customer service line that you can call, you can pay, and they will find it. Because if you have the bounded book, it had to be approved and uploaded at some point. I saw mine. So ProQuest is publicly searchable by the author's name, title, year, and institution. Real records exist across multiple independent systems, not just one. So even if, let's just say, we cannot find somebody on ProQuest, it does not mean that they are not in other places. But if you ain't even got a rough draft, if you ain't even got a certificate, if you ain't even got the book, it's just too much that you ain't got for me. You know, it's like a relationship. Like, why are we doing this? Okay, we're not dating. So where to verify? You can go to ProQuest itself, and they should have like, it's a spelling word, but thesis statement, and we should be able to look up something. Okay, so 5 priority topics that I want to cover that came up in the comment section. So the grad school journey, how to vet a therapist, which we somewhat already addressed, the mental health provider cheat sheet. I'll show it to you so you can have it as a replay. Why therapists have to continue to get CEs or CEUs. The names change based off the state and the board. And, you know, like I said, the Argosy University truth. So let me just like state the, like, just quick facts. Okay. So when we as providers, just in case you want to know your provider's history to see why we put in so much work, the grad school journey, most people only hear about the dissertation, the thesis. You had to take comps, an oral exam, right? You got to talk about a case and break it up into what we considered a case conceptualization with a diagnosis, all the missing pieces, etc. But a dissertation, y'all, or a thesis statement for a master's program or a test to test out of the program is the very, very last step. Okay. So what most public people do not know is, in all programs can vary. If you choose to take a 4, 6-year routes, it varies. Okay. But this is just a general summary. Most programs in year 1, you're going to get coursework. And I know when I was teaching the dissertation process at Argosy, what I thought was good, they started moving up the dissertation process to the first year versus the second year. I also recall because there were too many across different institutions going to these internship sites because they collect students from everywhere, all across the United States. There were too many students going into internship that did not finish their dissertation. And what would happen is once the internship is done, they have their 1,500 hours, let's just say, they couldn't graduate because they didn't finish their dissertation. So I noticed that at least at Argosy, what I thought was good is they pay attention to data with their students. And they said, you know what? No, you're going to have to complete all of your analysis, all of your lit review, all of your data collection, because a lot of us moved away from the school, which means that it's harder to meet with our dissertation chair and reader. It's like two people that overlook our whole process, if that makes sense. Okay. So typically the coursework and some type of practicum starts during year one. Practicum is where we start earning hours, but they don't count. Okay. We earn more than the 3,000. Okay. Every year we have to do a certain amount of hours per week for the whole year. For us in school full time, it was 16 hours at a site, which typically meant if I was working at an elementary school one year, I was doing testing. Another year, it was 16 hours client facing. So I may have, I'm sorry, not client facing, 8 hours client facing and 8 hours supervision, a whole lot of supervision, right? So they don't play about the supervision game. The second year is, depending on your program, you might start to have comprehensive exams. Why? Because they're preparing you to get licensed. Okay. Year number 3, dissertation proposal, but most schools, I propose mine in the second year. Okay. And qualified exams. In year 4, if you're in a doctoral program, pre-doc internship, and you have to go through an intense, I thought it was fun, but that's because I was prepared because I was around upperclassmen the year before and they prepared me in student government. But you have to go through a APA or APIC or your state registration. It's multiple ways that we can get matched. This is what it looks like. We already go through a match program in the first, for us going to Argosy, my year. I went through the second and third year practicum sites. So I did 2 years of 16 hours all year practicum sites, okay, for a total of like 10 to 11 months. So I did one at high schools, which was strictly therapy. And then I did one at an elementary school. And the only reason I chose a school, that one, is because they had a different way that they taught therapy in terms of what we call theoretical orientation. And then they also did testing. And I really love testing children, okay? So I did that my first 2 years. My third year, I'm sorry, my second and third year. My fourth year, I applied for the internship. So just to give you some numbers, I am overzealous. I also had a master's degree before I entered my doctoral degree. So my mindset was, I know, completely different than most who just go straight into the PsyD or PhD program. So with that in mind, I looked up every place that I wanted to interview at. My first year, no lie, I applied to 15 sites. I got 15 interviews. And this is not what, I guess it is to toot my own horn, but I'm very good at knowing what I want and going after it. Okay. And that's still me to today. Same thing happened the following year. And I got my first choice that I wanted. Same thing happened in my internship year. But technically I got my choice too, but they ranked me at 2. So we matched. It's like a dating site. You rank all of the interviews you went to, because not all the places will call you for an interview. They interview all these people. They put it into an electronic system. I want y'all to think about anxiety. All of us, the schools and the students put in, or the institutions, where we want to match, meaning I want to go to that site to get my 1,500 hours. It can be in New York, it can be in California, it can be in Miami, etc. You wake up on match day at 4 o'clock in the morning. This is only doctoral students, PhD, and PsyD programs in the United States. What the problem is that there are more students than there are sites. So maybe about 10% of people did not match. So on the day of the match, they now have to find who has availability and then pretty much do interviews on the spot, on the phone, and accept the offer when it comes that day. That is it. That stuff is intense. There's no way somebody gonna take all of that work away from me. Okay. So if there is a 5th year, finish your dissertation, and then after all of this, non-calculated hours, calculated hours, exams, dissertation, class, you then take 2 exams. Okay. Put a 1 in the comment box, especially as the general public. If you like, like, no wonder my therapist is like, boom, 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 or like they focus on helping you one particular way. We'll get to that, right? Because that's what their expertise is. So why all of this matters? I believe that the public, you and mental health providers and future ones, you deserve to always see the full picture. So the more questions you have, it's like dating, the more stuff I'll tell you. But it's so much stuff that I can give you. I don't want to throw it all at you at once. I want to give you in doses what you're ready to receive. Okay. So most graduates with interests will carry with a doctoral degree maybe over $200,000 in debt, especially if they went to a for-profit school. That is probably one of the biggest cons, is that we carry the debt. Many students that go to grad school do not finish. Okay. Grad school is not a guarantee. Just because you get in, you finish. Okay. Surviving this process that I just, still as an overview, explained is why ethics demands that we practice properly. Why do you think they make us get so many hours? And a joke that I say to therapists and some of y'all on here in business is I find it like baffling that you went through all of this to become a licensed provider, but when it's coming down to running your business, you didn't go to school to run a business. A select few of therapists got an MBA, but you didn't learn how to run a mental health business. So you have to have two hats. And if you just think you're going to walk out here and open up a business and it's just going to stay open forever and you're just going to grow forever up and up and up, you got another thing coming. It might be popping in times of desperation like 2020, but there will be seasons where things will slow down. People go back to regular life, people outside in the summer. And you need to figure out other ways to diversify your revenue. That's why I started my channel, because I don't think that therapists should be the only ones that can't live an abundant life. Like, that's crazy to me that people come after therapists when we talk about how we can generate revenue. Like, that baffles me. Like, let me go back. You can literally go to, I ain't saying y'all do, but people go and fix their whole damn body for hundreds and thousands of dollars, right? And they like, oh, go girl. You know what I'm saying? Some people may shame them, but people like, woo woo, like glow up diaries. But we glowing up people inside, that affects they outside. And because we do that, we got to stay broke, humble. Get the hell up out of here. Ain't nobody trying to be broke and humble. I'm humble from Compton. I'm the humblest psychologist that you will probably ever meet. I never forget where I came from. I never forget any story that I endured, especially when it comes down to community violence. But please note, my family did not position me in the way that they did, and they were not as strict as they was with academics for me to just show up and shit on them. Like, absolutely not. So I will get after it. And guess what? All this energy comes into the therapy room for whatever the problem is. Okay. And so at the end of the day, we went through a lot. Okay. So second thing, sorry about that, is how to vet a therapist. So this we kind of talked about. I'm going to kind of speed things up. Your license is not supposed to be a secret. Now, I believe all y'all would agree with this. Like, nobody's license should be, they double down on it. Like, just show us the damn number. Okay. Here is the public can, clearly verify you as a will provider in, like, what do we do it in 30 seconds? 30 seconds, right? So what to check before you book? General public, including therapists who want to find a therapist. Look up the license number on the state board website. They should have their license number on an online directory, through the insurance panel, or on their website. Therapists, on your front page, you need your license number if you are portraying yourself doing the work as a therapist. I say the word portray because you got other streams of income. So your main page may be about speaking, but if you are doing speaking based on what you have done in your license, you need to have your license number visible before the fold. What is before the fold, Dr. CK? It is before somebody scrolls. I need to be able to see Takesha Jackson, licensed clinical psychologist, PSY 24698. Okay, so look up the license. Verify that the license is active. Confirm that the license type matches the services offered. I'm gonna give you all a cheat sheet. Check if you in an office, just like when you go get your hair done, that stuff should be visible. Like if you go to get your hair done, it's the cosmetology license, that little sheet of paper like this from the state. They should have it visible, okay? Just like HR laws, certain things have to be visible at your work site, okay? So if you want to ask somebody, may I have your license number? They need to give it to you. If they refuse to give it to you, I'm encouraging you, go find another provider because we got to sham. You know what I'm saying? So mental health is wealth. Okay. I believe they're very connected. And when you vet your provider, you need to vet your provider like you do anything else. I just find it very fascinating, again, that we can even vet buying a name brand bag off of online, wanting to make sure it's real. We will go to hell and back to make sure that these tennis shoes is real that we buying for our kid because we couldn't get them in a lottery. but you can't do them for your provider? Like, you about to open up your Pandora's box. And you mean to tell me you gonna shortchange this process? And yeah, it shouldn't make the job of providers harder. It should actually make it funner. Not even just easier, but funner, because now we know you invested. Okay. So active licensure means active oversight and accountability by the board. And if a provider hides their license, they refuse to show it, that is, my dear or my son, a red flag. Okay. Priority number 3, the mental health provider cheat sheet. Now, I didn't list every single license acronym because they change state by state, but you have to know that not all licensed providers, master's level, doctoral levels are the same. And you also have to keep in mind that it's not just the acronym or the title, it's also where did they get their expertise. So if I tell you, like, I was known for working with difficult teens. When I started my private practice as a psychologist in Southern California, to me, it was not hard. I'm speaking to the public and my providers. It was not hard for me to start my private practice outside of the logistics. I ain't gonna minimize that. But in terms of marketing myself for what I am good at, I have been working in the jails for 5 years. I have been working in high schools for 8+ years, right? And all I got is referrals for behavioral problems. I'm in the jail with either conviction or you got to go to court. So, with that in mind, I actually used that to my marketing advantage and said, hey, if you have a kid who is XXXX and you want to figure out what's going on with them, but let them have an outlet that's safe and that they can trust to talk to me, et cetera, then go ahead and sign them up for services. Okay. So that means that my expertise I have multiple levels of expertise, but one big chunk is adolescents and in teenagers. Okay. So I know the font is a little small, but knowing who does what. So I'm just going to give you the general one, but you still need to research the person. Okay. Because based off of your problem that you want to be solved, that person should be highlighting that on whatever page you are reading. So to my therapist, it is never good enough for me as a mentor and a coach in business for me to look at your social media profile and you just say, I serve women, high achieving. What the hell does that mean? Like, I can point out 10 high achieving women where I live, but we all got different stuff going on. Okay. So a psychiatrist has an MD, medical degree, or a DO, prescribes medication and medical training. Okay. Psychiatrists. Okay. They went to medical school. Okay. Psychologists, PsyD or PhD. We have the ability, we're just talking about scope of practice, diagnoses and provides therapy. So what you may find is that you may luck up and find a psychiatrist in which they do some talk therapy. But most of the time it is 2 people working collaboratively together, even if we're not in the same office. You may go to a psychiatrist at your medical facility, and then you come see a psychologist online or in an office. The goal would be that hopefully we've exchanged information so that if there was a change in your medication, because we don't cover medication, that we would know to ask you questions. Okay. LMFT, licensed marriage and family therapist, a master's level individual. They do therapy for individuals. They see couples and they see families. Sorry, psychologists, we do have the ability to diagnose, do psychological testing, like for ADHD, autism, things like that, and provides therapy. LCSW, licensed clinical social worker, master's level. So when you see these levels, that will also tell you the board. So that's why I said every state typically has 2 to 3 boards. Medical, I don't know if that was nationwide, but you have doctoral and then master's. Okay. So you have LCSW. They have a license in therapy, but also have a social worker foundation, but they got clinical training. LPCC, licensed professional clinical counselor or licensed professional counselor. In some states, master's level, professional clinical counseling. If you look it up online, I'm sure ChatGPT will tell you like a definition of just what this is. Okay. Life coach, should have bolded this. No state license, cannot diagnose, cannot use verbiage for diagnostic purposes. You cannot go on a podcast and say, I had a session and I've helped this person through PTSD. Don't use our language. You're not allowed. Sorry, I feel like a gang around here. Yes, I do. I'm territorial. Okay. Because again, we are protecting our ethical board and we use these labels with care. Okay. So People who do not have these degrees cannot diagnose, cannot use words like they're in treatment, they're in a therapy session. They're not, because you're not doing therapy because you're not a therapist. Period, point blank. Okay. So different concerns call for different types of providers, like I said earlier, depending on what problem you have. Knowing the difference helps the public, you choose the right care for you, a family member, or your child. Misuse of any of these titles is regulated by your state law. I'm in California, so is she. So we are regulated by California state law. So part 4, continuing education credits or units. Okay. Why are we always at locations, events, and trainings? Okay. So this is just a snapshot, again, just to put some respect on these titles. Okay. So psychologists, we have to complete 36 hours of continuing educational hours every 2 years. And the idea would be, this is my coaching part. Please, therapists, stop taking the exact same classes that you've low-key probably memorized the context. The goal of CEs, y'all, is that we stay relevant to what's happening in our field, not just with pop culture, but inside the field. Any changes to diagnostic criteria, cultural competency, research, suicide, all the things. Okay. So LMFTs, LCSWs, LPCCs, again in California, 36 hours still every 2 years through BBS. So this one is Board of Behavioral Science. This one is Board of Behavioral Sciences. Psychologist is Board of Psychology. It's the same based off of your state. They just may have different names. Now, this is what's also sets us aside from, I'm just a coach, is ethics training. Why you think we again so hard on this? We got to complete this class every 2 years. There is no, oh, I took it 10 years ago. 10 years ago, shit has changed. And so it needs to be in a renewable cycle. Ethics, okay? Suicide risk assessment training is required. Cultural humility, cultural competency, not cultural diversity. Those are two different things. And law updates are also required. Things are always evolving. Failure to complete CEs or CEUs means that your license cannot and will not be renewed. So if the therapist all of a sudden say, we got to take a break, they may or may not tell you, but this is what could happen if somebody wasted the last doggone minute to pay for their license. And it in every state costs a different amount. I will tell you that what did not make the list is, for California, that psychologist bill hit me around $750 this year. It used to be $500, $400. Like, inflation is real. Over $700 every 2 years. I also didn't include, we always have to keep malpractice insurance. If you've been on the same plan, like life insurance, you know what I'm saying? It don't go up, but sometimes it does. And that also hit me for, I think it was $1,100, but I got a discount because I was part-time in private practice, very much part-time. And it was based on you not having any dings next to your name. So if you've had any run-ins with the licensing board, they may say you look a little liable. I'm gonna have to increase your rate. Okay. So why this protects the public? Ongoing training for providers helps us stay current and us to use best practices, simply put. Okay. Required ethics, specifically related to staying ethical and knowing what's current, makes us remain accountable. So if someone is operating under the scope of counseling, therapy, treatment, sessions, whatever the words have been used in this whole tobacco, right? The problem is there is no board to listen to. That is actually another problem. Okay. So anyone can verify a renewed or new license through the state board. An expired license means the provider can no longer practice legally. So if you can't practice legally, don't use the words legally, like illegally. Okay. All right. And then last, Argosy, university truth, because we already talked about this a little bit in the beginning. Financial closure is not the same as academic failure. I need to speak up for my Argosy people. I will be your spokesperson. I was the president. It's good. Financial closure of the institution is not the same as academic failure. Let's break down what that means. Okay. So the school closed down for financial reasons, not academic reasons. They did not lose their accreditation through the highest board, American Psychological Association. Argosy, before it closed, was still regionally accredited. It's on my degree. It's conferred, right? So we had multiple campuses that held PhD and PsyD programs as being approved by the highest of the high, outside of the Lord. Okay. And so that process is rigorous. It's a renewable process. You don't just get a stamp and say that you're APA approved and then poof, it never has to be renewed again. Absolutely not. It's just like these licensing boards, maybe every 5 years, but they have to turn over so much documentation, paperwork, including what people are doing post graduation to show that these schools are producing credible individuals. Okay. So the closure in 2019 was due to financial mismanagement when a company bought another company. I told y'all the other day, that's when it went haywire to us that were working there. So it became under a parent company. The U.S. Department of Education ended federal aid eligibility. I told some of y'all about that if you were live when I talked about how those students came into class and they started having these financial aid conversations. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? Because nobody told us. That's why it was a surprise when the school shut down. Okay. They kept it a secret. And so accreditation was never, I'm going to emphasize, never revoked on academic grounds. So let me be clear. And I am going to not call people out by names. I don't know people's name. I just been seeing clips. If anybody got any shade to say about Argosy and you don't have a degree, please be quiet. If you did not go and collect 3,000 hours, work in jails, work in the hood in projects, working with my people to be able to give them a better life, and you are holding on to people's skeletons that you can't talk about to nobody, please be quiet. If you can't pronounce the word Argosy and doctoral correctly, please be quiet. I'm speaking up for those who went to Argosy because I'm tired of them fighting for their life because people want to be opinionated on podcasts. Ain't nothing on here that I've talked about opinionated. It is factual information that I pulled from APA, from Board of Behavioral Sciences, and from Board of Psychology and our ethics board. I'm not being opinionated. Go for the board if you got a problem with what I'm saying. But factual information. I would not have been able to do all the things that I've been able to do outside of Argosy if I did not have a degree from Argosy. Please know. And I'm very good at what I do. And I know it. I'm going to toot my own horn for that. And everybody else, you're good at what you do too. You know what I'm saying? But for those who are fighting for your life in these comments, because people have all these shady things to say, please remind yourself to tell yourself, let me see your degree. Show me the PhD or the PsyD. Run it. Run me 5,000 hours. Run me working in these dirty ass jails. I'm like, you can't run it up. Okay. Damn, office was a jail cell. Run that up. Okay. So the whole degree mill, kill it. Kill it. Go talk about something else. Go find some factual information. Okay. So what happened to the students? In summary, some students were mid-program when the school closed. And so they were instructed to get their transcripts and all those things. And there was, at least at our campus, a mid-situation transfer to other institutions, where other institutions did like an open house. And by that Friday, these students were linked up. I can only speak about the Los Angeles campus, okay, by LAX. That's where it used to be. Many students transferred and completed their degrees somewhere else. I kept up with my students because some of them were actually interns coming to my private practice through another program, a school-based program. Student records, like I said, were transferred to another party. Transcripts do remain available through these third parties, and many alumni are very successful practicing as licensed professionals. So the whole degree mill again. If it was a degree mill and we did not earn an adequate, degree, then why were we able to get jobs through the state and through the federal government? They don't just hire anybody. They don't just pay anybody over six figures. They don't just let these individuals into these institutions. You have to be qualified. Okay. So thousands of legitimate clinicians we know graduated from this school. Again, don't mix up financial with academic success. Okay. Accountability, as we all know it from this situation, is about an individual person. So it's interesting. The people who are speaking up the most, again, I'm gonna call you out. The people who are speaking up the most about the whole degree mill and, et cetera, they are people of color. And one thing that concerns me is like, don't judge a book by its cover. That's what we practiced our whole life. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. We've been taught that from day one. So let me get this straight. You practice that, you preach that. But when one person does something online, it just is transferred to everybody who went to that school, anybody who got a degree for mental health trust purposes. I get that. That's a whole nother situation. But please do not just batch everybody together who went to the school, because last time I checked, where the hell are her friends? And that's not a joke. That is dead ass serious. If I saw my friend struggling online, whether I know something or I think I know something, whatever the case may be, where are these people vouching for her? Because that's what I would be looking for even when I'm sitting in her shoes. Okay. So bottom line is education. When we get highly educated, it protects the public. Your opinions don't. Okay. every priority on the list serves consumer protection. So everything I've talked about protects the public. We also, as providers, we hold our peers accountable. Now she ain't my peer because there's just too much stuff going out. But initially it was like, hold your peers accountable because it's an ethical obligation. But because someone inserted themselves in our peer circle, not gonna call you out. Okay. So this is about a system, and I'm a systems types person. That's why I get real deep. Okay. It's not about a single person, but I'm telling those of you who want to seek mental health services, I understand that this may have caused a trust recession again. But I'm asking you just to simply do your homework because that's what I would have hoped you would have done from jump. But now you're well informed, so now you know how to. Okay. So, like I said, if you are new here, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and subscribe. I will continue to answer these questions as they come up. I will be on the East Coast, you know, coming up over the next like couple of days. So I won't be going live stream probably up until next week. So someone says, I saw one of your co-fellows say they never saw her at any class or activities. Now listen, I didn't go to whatever campus she said she went to, but I believe based off the timing that we were probably all in the same program around the same years, but we went to different campuses. So don't know. Yeah, don't use our language. We got to click. So if you're not part of the club, okay. So are you saying there is no marriage and family child therapist? There is, but is she one? There's no record. So, and oh, P.S. I'm glad you mentioned child. Child is based off of school, track, and choice. So I actually applied to an MFT program because I don't know which one I want to go to, clinical or MFT. I applied to an MFT program, but it was actually a child and adolescent track. And I was attracted to it for that reason, but I didn't choose it because I didn't want to be locked into only getting classes and a lot of my training with children and adolescents. Because I knew at some point in my life, especially with having children, or I wanted to break from just serving kids. Because when you serve kids, you never just serve a kid. You serve the whole system. You serve everybody who breathes on a kid, right? I knew at some point I would want to break and I would want to switch it up. So I wanted to make sure that I had a breadth of experience. But yeah. So for students, make sure that you take that into account. You're welcome. So yeah, y'all subscribe to the channel, share this series. I probably should make a little playlist. I don't want to put her name in it. I'm just gonna put like the truth. Like the truth about mental health. All right. But if y'all have questions, oh, y'all did vote. So let me say this before I gotta get off. My son is out of school. Is I will be doing a PTSD in the Hood series. Y'all did vote on that. And then we still are gonna have a therapist series on introduction to digital products. And I will be making some announcements on the YouTube post feed, like the community feed, and on my email list. So y'all make sure that y'all pay attention because we are officially in what I consider summer school, which means that it's not free for all, but I do have more time to do stuff like this. All right. So do me a favor. I'm gonna hop off camera real quick, but I'm gonna keep this on. I gotta open the door for my son. Like put in your questions or your comments, but give me 1 second. Sorry. Hold on, y'all. Mom duties at 3 o'clock. All right. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna catch up with the comments as well. Yeah, and therapists, if you again want to have profitable streams of income, there are on my YouTube channel, probably under this video, there are ebook guides. If you want more of our mini courses that focus on like therapy groups, clinical supervision, I would highly encourage you go over to Instagram. Or you can comment on the bottom of this video and just let me know what stream of income you're interested in. But there are plenty of playlists. And let me just show this because I keep getting questions and I don't address it primarily because, well, I'll just tell people where to go. There is like a gang of playlists on my channel because I've been on YouTube for a while and I've mainly used it for a teaching platform. Okay. So I want to show you this because I got so many questions about, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? And I don't mean to be short. It's just that if I know that I recorded a whole series on it, I'm like, oh, just, you know what I'm saying? Just go take a look at it. Okay. So if you go to my main page, just click on playlists. Okay. When you click on playlists, but oh, you know what? Let me go back to home. Sorry. When you go to the home page, it's going to be a for you. It's matching stuff based off of your stuff that you do on YouTube. It said, Dr. TK, check your history. Sounds like she is mirroring what and who you are for real. All right, let's keep going. So, all right, it'll have a for you section. Then it has past live streams, which are like in the last week, it's been these plus other things. But for therapists and future therapists, and if you have therapist friends as the public, share this with them. I created my own little university over the last 8 years or so. So if you want information around private practice and clinical supervision, there are plenty of videos. Clinical supervision specifically, I did a whole series on it recently at the end of last year. If you want to go into group practice, I did a whole series plus some interviews. If you all, even for the public, if you want to hear about what other therapists are doing, please note that we do talk about business as well. But if you want to hear about what other therapists are doing with in their businesses across the United States, we have served well over 3,000 therapists at this point in various programs based off streams of income. So those are there. Digital products, we would be having fun with digital products, y'all. All of that is there. And then look, I created this because I got a lot of questions back in the day, like on Instagram and YouTube here. And so I decided at some point, because I don't have any programs per se for students, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to pay it forward and give back. I just leverage my time. So I did a how to become a clinical psychologist. It does say 2022, but I made sure to make it relevant and evergreen. But I then surveyed y'all students, and this is what questions keep coming up. So I don't think people know this is here. How to find a practicum site. I talked to you about what to look for in a site and how to like get a good match. When you apply for grad school, the application process, and then how to find a grad school program. So it's some stuff that's there, but if you all know of any psychology students, I think that referring psychology students over to my channel was still good because they need to be inspired ethically. Okay. All right, y'all. So this clears up the talking heads that don't understand how the program works. Okay. All right, y'all. Look, we done built our crew. The general public, y'all with us too. And starting next week when I get back from New York, I guess we're gonna start this digital product school. So y'all better be ready because we about to get lit. All right, y'all. I'll let y'all know when I do the PTSD. What do you call it? The PTSD series. It is gonna start in June. I just needed to wrap up Mental Health Awareness Month. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video. Leave your